Hello everybody, welcome back for another video. Hope you're all doing well and that you're all having an incredible day to start things off. On Thursday, Dan Morehead, founder and co-CIO and CEO of blockchain-focused investment firm Pantera Capital Management, LP, explained why the current fiscal and monetary policy in the US is highly likely to inflate the price of Bitcoin. Morehead's comments were delivered via the March 2020 issue of Blockchain Letter, which is Pantera Capital's monthly newsletter. Morehead started by looking at the potential impact of the current world situation on the economy. He believes under the least bad scenario, the GDP of the U.S. will suffer a 4% seasonally adjusted annual rate decline in quarter two. Federal Reserve Bank of St. Louis, President James Bullard, however, is much more pessimistic about the economic impact of everything that's been going on. As Bloomberg reported last Sunday, he told them during a phone interview that he believes the U.S. unemployment rate, here's where it gets a bit crazy, that the U.S. unemployment rate may hit 30% during these next couple of months in the second quarter because of shutdowns that are taking place, with an unprecedented 50% drop in GDP. 30%. That is astronomically insane. Morehead says that the current constraint of what's going on is causing a constraint on economic activity, and that it will be very difficult to counteract all of this with standard economic policy tools. You may be noticing a trend. It's a lot of very high-profile people who are either in finance, have been in finance, are people in banks, international monetary funders, who all say that what we apparently are looking at is, I guess the only term would be unprecedented, that we've never really gone through something like this. I've seen reports of anywhere from that the stock markets and the traditional markets are going to go that they'll be worse than 2008, 2009. That's already a given. But they're saying that what's happening now could potentially slam us directly into another depression, which then may take us a very long time to get out of, because it's no longer a recession where things can be propped back up after a couple of months. If we hit if just the US alone hits a 30% unemployment rate, and that's once again only the people who are actually eligible to be able to apply for these things. I think you have to have worked at a job for a certain amount of time to be able to even get the unemployment benefits, or to be able to actually, whatever. The point is, things on that end are expected to not get better. He said, in the age of zero interest rate policies, or ZIRP, Z-I-R-P, monetary policy has already lost most of its efficiency. Monetary policy is impotent, against the economic and psychological impacts of what's currently going on. With last week's Fed cut, now almost 60% of the world's GDP is already at its effective lower bound of zero. As for fiscal policy, he says, unfortunately, fiscal stimulus is very hard to surgically pinpoint against an invisible physical adversary. Invisible. What he does say will potentially do well during this time period. He says, as governments increase the quantity of paper money, it takes more pieces of paper money to buy things that have fixed quantities, like stocks and real estate, above where they would settle absent an increase in the amount of money. They'll also inflate the prices of other things like gold, Bitcoin, and other cryptocurrencies. Now that we're in the trillions, the deficit just simply has to have a positive impact on the price of things, not quantitatively easable. Stocks, real estate, cryptocurrency relative to the price of money. He said the price of Bitcoin may set a new record in the next 12 months. It's not going to happen overnight. My best guess is that it will take institutional investors 2 to 3 months to triage their current portfolio issues, another 3 to 6 months to research new opportunities like distressed debt, special situations, crypto, etc. Then as they begin making allocations, those markets will finally begin to rise. Regardless of what happens during the next couple of weeks, months, I think it's going to I think this is the stress test that I think Bitcoin has been waiting for. Bitcoin's not alive. It's more like I think that Bitcoin needs to really prove itself. We have been talking it's been years now. It's been years upon years upon years about what potential movements Bitcoin would have during an economic crisis. It was almost like a mantra that during any type of major economic downturn, Bitcoin would completely go above and beyond and do very well. We see that fear has put a big halt to a lot of that, as people simply don't know where to put their money or what is going to do extremely well. I think the next 5 months will be a very big, say 5 to 6 months will be a very big eye-opener for tons of markets, whether that be the potential fall and collapse of real estate markets around the world, as people aren't traveling, people aren't really buying, especially during times where people may be losing money, whatever the actual case might be. Where the gold market is going to go. I've seen a couple of people, I mean, mainly people in the comment section, and like that guy, Peter, who talking about that Bitcoin's going to hit 5, 6, 7,000. Not Bitcoin, that gold is going to hit 5, 6, 7,000, but it's like yeah, sure, then kind of do it. But also, if the it's not even if the cryptocurrency market is resilient enough, because there's nothing really stopping it except for the fear of other people who have money in the markets. If there's another really big sell-off and other people get afraid, then other people will continue to sell off as well. So it's kind of like it's more so if people, and if whales, I guess, to a larger extent, really understand the potential benefits of having something that won't hyperinflate and at some point is basically deflationary by nature. Yeah, a lot of major analysts, whether they have been in the cryptocurrency markets for a while or have whatever the case might be, they have some affiliation with crypto, say that this is probably, I mean, first of all, it's now go time. This isn't a test. This isn't oh yeah, let's see what happens in 3 to 4 years to the price of cryptocurrencies if there's an economic downturn. Like, we are currently in a recession. We are teetering towards a depression. And if governments, if we see that the current stimulus packages around the world are having no real effect and they're not pushing the prices of stocks and stuff back up, and people actually take into account that all of this is causing inflation for the actual fiat currencies that are also causing a lot of the big problems, will there then be a shift to crypto? I think it comes down to people being informed, not being misinformed, as far as like seeing the actual potential benefits. This is why I said the other day when we were looking at that chart and it showed was it 15, 20 countries who are like, who've been buying up crypto during this time, who are, a percentage of the people there have this much crypto, whatever the actual numbers might be. I think these things are very important because I think a lot of this in my opinion, I think other places in the world have experienced things like we have going on right now. These things actually happen all the time in other parts of the world. It's just the West is now very heavily hit by it. So it's like a big shock. It's like, how could this happen to us kind of thing? So other parts of the world have been hit by things like this before very frequently. And also many other places are used to having tyrants and or dictators in power. So they know I have to move my money from this. I can do so and so. So this is why I think it's catching on in many other, not smaller countries, but less economically powerhousey as the US is. So this is why I think we're seeing a movement there. But it's more like I don't know. I think people in the West, of course, a lot of people get it. Obviously, tons of people in the States, in Canada, in Europe understand. But I think it's still a very small fraction of the people who really don't get what these economic policies mean, what it means for their future money, what it means for their retirement. We already have a huge retirement crisis going on. Even before all of this, we used to talk about this before. There are tons of places, especially within the US, where it's not Medicare and Medicaid. It's like all these like retirement plans and these 401k things, like they're actually completely drying up. Like a lot of these have very low rates. You're not getting the actual money that you would have gotten about 5-10 years ago. And it's widely believed. Even once again, just 2 years ago, we were talking about this. It's widely believed that a lot of people who are 30, 40, 50 will probably never, ever, 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 ever be able to retire. Ever. Not a chance, not even 1% of a chance. As the cost of housing continues to go up, as the cost of everything else continues to go up, and wages continue to stagnate, people can't save money. People can't really put money away. So by the time you're around 64, 65 years old and you're looking into your retirement accounts and you're like, oh, that's about 8% of what I actually need to live off of for the rest of my life. There's just a lot lining up. And I consider you lucky, and I don't mean that as a joke. The fact that we are in a market that could potentially outperform other markets, or even just in general, if you have the investing bug, it's going to be very beneficial for you in the coming years, in the future. And I say this completely honestly, even if crypto does fail, even if this entire experiment completely goes poof, you will have some type of a huge amount of knowledge as to how to invest. You will know that you can still invest in stocks, invest in real estate, invest in art. Like, there's a huge reason. I found an article years ago, and it was talking about the actual reason why people invest in art. Many of even the pieces that I've gotten, when you look at the actual like year-to-year growth, sometimes they go up between 15 to like 19%, like year on year of actual like price growth within the market. So it's all these things to kind of like stay ahead of inflation, but then you also like, why do we have inflation in the first place? Anyway, it's important to invest. It's important to put money away. It's important to think about your future. I have so many friends, I know they're not listening, who don't invest at all. None. Zero. They are content with their job where they make minimum wage. They don't put money away to the side. They buy tons of clothes, tons of shoes, sneakers, hats, bags. They go on these extravagant trips. And I ask them sometimes, I'm like, do you put money away? I try to be friendly because I know sometimes I can be very overbearing. If you hear how I talk to all of you through the microphone, just imagine how I'm talking when I'm like actually face to face with someone, because I get very intense sometimes because I want people to be okay. So I ask them and I'm like, do you have any money set aside? Do you have so-and-so? Have you thought about investing in this? Have you thought about putting, I've even tried to get some friends, I'm like, can you put 100 into Bitcoin or 100 into some other cryptocurrency and just let it sit there? I don't really have it right now. I can't really pay my rent this month. And I sit there like I get like crazy headaches. Because not only being in their late 20s, early 30s, are they not prepared for the now, like rather like 8 months ago? They're definitely not prepared for the current situations that we have, and they sure as heck are not prepared for anything that's coming or could potentially get worse within the next 6 to 12 months. So I guess the main takeaway from all of this is a lot of people have been coming out and they've come to the same exact conclusion that this is not going to get better anytime soon, that the financial economic situation that we currently have going on is going to worsen as we are not at the pinnacle or the highest or the height of everything that's currently happening. You know exactly what I mean. And this will only cause further damage to the traditional markets, which the longer that takes, the longer it takes for them to actually return back to normal. And even then more so, we've seen interest rates going to zero, negative interest rates, and announcing that trillions of dollars are going to go to even just the people within America has had no real effect on the market. So there's only so many trillions you can print or that you can allocate before people start going. The normal inflation rate should be 1 to 2%, and last year it was 7 to 8%. So yeah, it's just, this is it. This is the real deal that we've been talking about for a couple of years. If Bitcoin not only can survive this, which I think it will, I don't foresee a future. I think there's so many people who are into cryptocurrencies right now. Even if it was just me and two of my, I actually have 3 close friends who are into crypto. Hello to the, I know 2 of them listen, not the third one. Hello to the 2 of you. Even if it was just the 3 or 4 of us, no one else was buying Bitcoin, we'd be buying up massive amounts of Bitcoin. So if the estimates are there between 50 to 100 million people on this planet who own, are interested in whatever so-and-so Bitcoin is some sort of fashion, one can only assume that Bitcoin's price is probably not going to hit 0. It's probably not going to hit 100. It's probably not going to hit even 1,000, because my bank account wouldn't let it. It just simply would not happen. Yeah, I mean, I can go on talking about this forever, but it's more like we're here. Let's see what happens. I think I'm most interested in the halving at this point. I'm not expecting an immediate push up in price. I think as we move towards it and it starts hitting the news a lot more, that this will become a bit of a, I think we'll spark a bit more in price. If we've been able to almost hit 7,000, if not go over 7,000 a little tiny bit while markets have been going down, the halving or the nearing of the halving should have a little positive effect on price, but then look for that that hype burst immediately after, because there are people who are going to be selling their Bitcoin thinking, well, you know, the halving's over, not realizing that the halving event takes place for the next 4 years until the next one ends up taking effect. So anyway, I'm in it for the long haul, but I'm still holding my breath kind of to see exactly what will take place. Never, ever stop investing. Never stop putting your money into things that can make you money, because in about 20 to 30 years, when tons of other people... Have you never seen those documentaries on YouTube or anywhere else? The people who like just can't retire. There are people who are like 80 and something, 90 something now, who are still like greeters at Walmart. These people will never be able to retire. Ever. It's terrible to think about, and it's even scarier when you think that we could be moving into a depression. Whew. A lot to handle. Sorry for the super heavy topic, but it has to be said. Like, this isn't just I mentioned that before last year when people were getting upset that I was talking about negative things. I can't. Like, the world isn't a rosy, sunny place every single day. You have to talk about the negative things that could happen so that you prepare yourself for them. It's the only way to move forward. We're in a very tough time. Things will eventually get better, but you have to also understand that when those good times happen, you can't simply start throwing around money once again as if there won't be another negative economic situation. So always be prepared. Always make sure to save, have an emergency fund, and whenever you can, any extra money you have that shouldn't be going to something important, put it into some sort of an investment so that you make money should the rest of the world start burning around you. Anyway, let's move on. Next up, IOHK, the company behind Cardano's blockchain, has announced the launch of the Ouroboros Hydra protocol. Input-Output Hong Kong explained that the scaling protocol will enable Cardano to handle up to 1 million transactions per second and facilitate microtransactions that will lead to an uptick in crypto payments globally. In a press release shared with Crypto Slate, the company also announced a reboot of the Byron-era codebase that will enable an easier transition into Shelley. Input-Output Hong Kong, the company behind the ambitious Cardano blockchain, has announced that it has finally launched the Ouroboros Hydra protocol, the accumulation of 5 years of intensive scientific research and relentless testing. Hydra will enable Cardano to scale to a level unprecedented even in large-scale payments processes such as Visa. The company's chief scientist, Professor Agalos Kiaias, explained that Hydra will enable a high transition throughput, low latency, and minimal storage per node. While Hydra was specifically designed to work with the Ouroboros protocol on the Cardano blockchain, it can be employed over other systems as well. As the Cardano ecosystem consists of multiple entities with different technical capabilities, Hydra was also made out of several sub-protocols. Where's the other really important part? So, here's the main takeaway from it. Apparently, so think of a Hydra like the monster with multiple heads. It says as a single Hydra head was able to achieve 1,000 transactions per second. Input-Output Hong Kong simulated what would happen if the protocol ran 1,000 of these heads, this one, at the same time. There are currently around 1,000 stake pools on the Shelley incentivized testnet, so all the pools could, in theory, form an individual head. So 1,000 times 1,000 is a million. That's where I guess they're getting the million transactions per second. I saw that this was launched 12, 24, 36 hours ago. Cardano's price hasn't moved up per se. This is seemingly, here's the actual blog post right here. It says, enter the Hydra. When you read through it, it reads similar to a It sounds like the Cardano's version of the Lightning Network, kind of ish esque. It's a side chain, not on the actual blockchain type thing. So we'll see how this goes. Apparently, this has actually launched, and I say that because I saw a couple of other places who were mentioning it, but it was more like a it's ready and it's going to be launched, and not a it is already active and moving there. So if one single Hydra head is able to do 1,000 transactions per second, that is already, if they say so, that is already quite good compared to many other blockchains out there. Bitcoin completely pushed aside, because we know Bitcoin is the snail that could. But even the other ones, I think Tron claims they can do 10,000. It's never been like fully tested. I think EOS said they can do between 3,000 to 5,000, and what was the other one that said they can also do a lot? Anyway, so yeah, this apparently is a thing now. We'll see exactly what happens over the next couple of weeks. If we get any type of real indication, and other people in the cryptocurrency community, and I mean other like coders, builders, and stuff like that, can actually confirm that even if there are 15 Hydra heads and they are actively moving, and it's just not people have like flipped the switch and then like they're waiting for people to join, and they're doing 15,000 transactions per second, that is extremely bullish for Cardano. It's just more of a, let's see if it actually goes through. Yeah, that's the Cardano news, and let's move on. And probably one of the creepiest things that you will ever hear about in your entire life, Microsoft wants to create a new cryptocurrency that's still mined using proof of work, except replacing expensive power-intensive machining rigs or mining rigs with basic human energy. If that sounds a little strange, you should take a deep dive into the details of the patent published yesterday, filed by Microsoft. It's called Cryptocurrency System using body activity data. According to the patent, Microsoft's cryptocurrency would make use of body activity data. This would allow individuals to mine cryptocurrency and replace the need for ASICs. It sounds a little otherworldly and honestly borderline creepy. It's extremely creepy. But if you can get past the idea of wiring humans up to some kind of server tracking their energy output, I can't get past that. It could be a sustainable way of mining crypto without damaging the environment. So how does it work? As per the patent, Microsoft states the human body activity needed to mine cryptocurrency could be very simple. We're not talking about forcing tribes of people to go run 20K. In fact, it could be as little as a brainwave or body heat emitted from the user when the user performs the task provided by an information or service provider, such as viewing an advertisement or using certain internet services, can be used in the mining process. So pretty much they want you to, it would record, I guess, your body heat and your brain waves, which is incredibly creepy. Brain waves as you're watching advertisements on the internet, which to me, it's like a why. Like a why though. First of all, we spoke about major companies creating their own cryptocurrencies a while ago. I think it was foolish to ever assume that Microsoft would not be creating their own cryptocurrency. I'm going to assume it's either going to be stablecoiny or it's going to be extremely pre-mined and still have more coins that are going to be released as time goes on, because I doubt that Microsoft at all is going to start a cryptocurrency project where they mine the first block and then it's kind of up to everyone else to do so. It's probably also going to have an infinite supply. This is just logically how companies think, but I feel like it could have been a lot easier to, or for them to release something in like the shape of a cube, maybe like the shape of a phone, that is solar powered, that you could have next to a window, and that could actually be used to mine. Like even if you were just mining $4 or $5 worth of something a day, depending, you know, per device, you wouldn't have to read people's brain waves, because all that data is being collected. Like, they're not just reading your brainwaves and go, oh, that's cool, I like that line, it's really squiggly. Like, these are being stored into a computer for the next 50, 60 years, especially if you have to have, think of it this way, if you're going to be paid out in that cryptocurrency by Microsoft, they're going to have the entire KYC AML thing running through it, and you're going to have to give them your name, your address, your phone number, and all that other stuff, so they will know exactly where you live, and they will know exactly what advertisements you are looking at. And also, they'll have your brainwave activity for watching said things. It's kind of like a why. Like, do things have to be this creepy in the future? Like, what is the... They know good and well that it doesn't have to be this way. Even if it was something as far as like working out, like, can you imagine if they were like, oh, we created like a new Fitbit kind of thing, and if you jog every single day, you get money. If you do, like, this would be a huge incentive for people to have like a form of passive income. Like, imagine being able to imagine a system. This is just a random thing going through my head. That would, if you jogged every morning for about a good 30 minutes to an hour, it would provide you with 1/4 of your monthly income as like a side passive income, because you're not actually working for it, you're just working out your body. Kind of see what I mean? That's something completely different. I'd rather not have my body activity or my brain waves be monitored by any company, just because no. It's like that thing that people in the Nordic countries were doing, where they were like injecting their cryptocurrency wallets into their hands, and like their what's it called? Like their house keys, like not like an actual key, but like a little like sensor into their palms, so that they could open up their car just by touching the door, or they could open up their house door just by placing their hand on it. It's like, why? Like, did it take that long for you to dig your hand into your pocket, find the correct key, and open the door? Like, was the extra 8 seconds, were they that difficult that you had to implant something in your hand so that you could... Anyway, a lot of the future is going to be very creepy. Take it how you will. There's just constantly so much data collection, and I wonder sometimes if the actual companies releasing these things understand how creepy they are, or how creepy it seems. Like, is Microsoft so disconnected from the actual world that they don't understand that people probably don't want to have their brain waves monitored to be able to mine a cryptocurrency? Like, especially when we had tons of other what was that company years ago? I don't even know if they're still around, who had like they had like home heaters, like house, like actual like a heater where you could plug it into the wall, and that was actually mining Bitcoin for you. Or like having nodes on your phone, or having other things. Like, I feel like if you want to save the environment, just make things solar powered, make the batteries last a lot longer like Tesla does, and just make it a lot less creepy. Anyway, that's the Microsoft news for today. I hope to goodness this doesn't catch on, because we all know, we all have a friend who would be more than willing to have something lodged into their brain or put on top of their whatever and take their brain waves to make an extra $3, $4, $5 a day. Anyway, that's the creepy news for today. Like, why? Why would you, why? It's the same exact thing with voice. Why would you create a social media platform that you talk about it's open for everyone, but you need my data? Why do you need so much of my data for me to use these platforms? It's almost like we didn't have other ways of doing things before without you harvesting my data. Oh boy, let's move on. Next up, for some reason in I guess news that was kind of everywhere news, the Monetary Authority of Singapore, under the new Payment Service Act, has allowed a number of crypto companies to operate without a license for 6 months. The Monetary Authority of Singapore has exempted a number of crypto companies from obtaining a license and operating for 6 months. Among the companies benefiting from the 6-month period are Binance, Coinbase, Gemini, Bitstamp, Luno, Upbit, and Wirex. Singapore Central Bank and Financial Regulator The Monetary Authority of Singapore announced this week a list of companies that were granted an exemption from holding a license under the Payment Services Act of 2019 for a period of 6 months. Crypto businesses that were already operating before the act came into effect were required to notify the authorities, and license exemptions were also granted to them. The new Payment Service Act went into effect the 28th of January this year. The exemption period to operate without a license will end on the 28th of July. And then it has a bunch of other companies. The act simplifies or classifies specific payment services into 6 types: account issuance service, domestic money transfer, inward cross-border money transfer, merchant acquisition service, and e-money issuing service, and digital payments. Why is the world so complicated? Yeah, for some reason this was news. And you may, like, it's cool that they were exempt for 6 months, but why? Like, what's the point of exempting them for 6 months? It doesn't. So now they just have to. The world is a very weird place. Was the 6-month period meant as an incentive for these companies to go into your country to start making money, and therefore they'd want to stay there? Or was it just like a grace period for them? Like, what's the because they're gonna have to get a license at some point. Like, you once these companies are making millions, if not billions of dollars within these borders, these lands, the government's not gonna be like, oh, you're fine. Exemption, you don't have to get one. It's so what was the point of the 6-month period? It had to be some type of an incentive period for them to open up shop. And why was this news everywhere? I don't know. That's a very good question. I also wonder such things some days as well when I find relatively important news, and it's maybe on 1, maybe 2 different cryptocurrency websites, but then other days there's news like this that appears on like 14 different websites, and it's like, oh, that's cool that they gave them a 6-month exemption that will end on the 28th of July. Wow, that made my day. I'm glad I got to read that news. Anyway, sure, good job, Singapore. I mean, other places have 0% tax rates on crypto, but 6 months, that's definitely what the crypto industry needed. Next up, following a series of platform outages during historic price action earlier this month, Robinhood, a popular stock and cryptocurrency trading app, now faces another class action complaint. The lawsuit, filed a couple of days ago, was brought by customer Bruce Queen on behalf of all Robinhood. Okay, here we go. Here's where it gets ridiculous. It's the lawsuit is on behalf of all the Robinhood customers within the United States who were not able to execute trades on securities or change limit orders during the outages and incurred financial losses. Usually what ends up happening, now I'm stepping back. Usually when, are those claws? What is that? What is that? The point is, a lot of people, and we saw this before with the Ripple lawsuits, is that people tend to lodge complaints or launch lawsuits in the name of everyone else who was affected. It's not just me. But then at the end of the situation, it's like, if a company, let's say randomly, ends up paying you $25 million for damages or whatever because you won, and then you find out that there were also 25 million other people who were also affected by the outages, are you then going to hand them $1 each? No, of course not. The lawsuit is for you. It's not on behalf of anyone else or any other Robinhood customer. You just kind of say that because you want to make it sound more gigantimous than it is. As Cointelegraph reported, on the 2nd of March, Robinhood suffered technical problems for the entire day, meaning customers were unable to trade securities in their accounts for a period of over 16 hours. This is why decentralization matters. This coincided with the then biggest one-day point gain in the Dow Jones Stock Market Index history. Queen alleges that he had bought put contracts through the platform on the 28th of February and submitted a sell order for these on the 2nd of March. However, he was unable to access the sell order throughout the day, and the order was canceled by Robinhood on the morning of the 3rd. Queen was then forced to sell his contracts at a lower price on the 3rd. Oh no, wow. While Queen managed to sell his contracts on the 3rd, Robinhood technical problems were far from over. The platform went offline for around 3 days or 3 hours that day, reportedly due to an unprecedented load caused by record volume of trades. I don't use these platforms. I don't use Robinhood. And I'm sure it's court cases like this that really make sure, you know, like when you see those contracts and it's like you scroll all the way to the bottom and it's like, do you want to click yes to use our platform? And you, oh, okay, whatever, fine, I'll click yes. And you go forward. It's going to make them have a clause just because if there's a huge surge on the platform, if we have a DDoS attack, if something goes wrong, that's not because of what we've done. If we're used to having 30,000 people a day and for some reason we have 850,000 a day and things go down because of technical issues and you happen to lose money, it's not our fault. I'm not sticking up for Robinhood, but it's more like a come on, like stop. There's always one person. There's always one person who kind of like ruins it for the entire group. Not saying that this person is ruining it, but like you understand what I'm saying. There's also I couldn't find exact numbers anywhere around here as to exactly how much this person lost during any outage that may have occurred. But it's the same exact thing once again with the Ripple lawsuits. That guy was suing Ripple for $513 or something like that. It's like, I'm fairly certain I could name about 2 or 3 other people who at least lost around 6 figures when XRP dropped in price. You lost $500 and you felt there was a need to sue the company because once again, you lost $500. So we'll see exactly what ends up happening. There are just so many situations where it's like, you should know, like there's a risk. If you're using Coinbase to store your money, Coinbase is not your father. Like Coinbase might at some point go offline. Coinbase might have technical issues. You might have entered for a trade, but you should know by using the internet. If you've never used the internet before, then I get it. Like if it's your first time ever using the internet, you may not know that there are outages. But there's always outages. Websites always go down. There are DDoS attacks. They're like those error 404 or 502. You've seen them before on the pages. It's because they're overloaded. So you have to know at some point if you are putting in something, trying to have a trade, trying to do something, trying to upload a video, because I know this video is going to take a very long time because the internet is congested because everyone's at home. You have to understand that there are going to be risks because it's the internet. Let's see exactly how this ends up unfolding. I feel like we're going to see a lot more complaints like this across the entire industry, whether that be just Robinhood or the cryptocurrency space, because I think everyone's always looking for an extra buck. Everyone's always looking for a reason to try and say, oh, I've been damaged. I need $20 million right now. It's like, come on. I can assure you, during any outages that might have happened, there were probably tons of people who had sell orders for anything ranging from $50,000 to around $5 million through that platform. It wasn't executed. They had to sell at a lower price. They still ended up making $1.4 million. I don't think they're going to have any lawsuits anytime soon. I think a lot of these things are very weird. Here's the actual court case document. United States District Court, Northern District of California. I'm not going to go through the entire thing, obviously. It's just more like to show you what's going on. It's very weird, and it's exactly why we have these gigantic contracts to sign that have like 82 pages when you're trying to sign up to a platform, because there's always one person who tries to find a loophole. They end up winning and or losing with the case, and then it makes it worse for everyone else who tries to use the platform after. Like I said, there's no money amount. Like if the person lost like 47 million, I'd be like, oh yeah. But if it's like $500, I'd be like, stop it. Anyway, that's the Robinhood outage news. It's the same exact thing years ago when Bitcoin in 2017 started around like $800-900, somewhere around that amount. By the time Bitcoin was around 8,000-9,000, the cryptocurrency exchanges were experiencing like a huge load of people trying to buy on these platforms. By the time Bitcoin was around 13,000-14,000, these exchanges were having outages. Why? Because they weren't, like, there was no one expected Bitcoin to have a 20x over the course of a 10, 11 month period. It just wasn't there. So the load on these systems was so huge that they all ended up collapsing. Kraken fell down a couple times. Binance, I think, had like some issues. Coinbase had the, like, it was all these things. And the people were like, I couldn't trade my coins at 11:47 on Saturday morning, and I lost 15,000. It's like, yeah, but they're all like, it's not just you. There are tons of other people who also lost money during this situation. It's like, we know that things can, if cars can break down, if trains can break down, if wires can break down, if anything else can, be affected from its current state, one can only assume that also websites would have the same problem. Anyway, I'm done talking about this. That's the there's also like, who else has a lawsuit against them right now? It's just so much. Here's that's the thingy, and let's move on. I keep telling you what's going on. News. KB Kookmin, the largest bank in South Korea, is set to launch crypto custody services for Bitcoin and Ether. The bank has filed a trademark application for KBDAC, the KB Digital Asset Custody, with the Korean Intellectual Property Office. Local news outlet Digital Today reported on Friday. The application, filed on the 31st of January, reportedly indicates that the bank could launch the service soon. A trademark application, in general, means that an entity has begun branding products and services, and that much of the development work has been completed, per the report. A KB Kookmin bank official told Digital Today that KBDAC is related to what the bank decided to do with blockchain startup Atom Rigs in June of 2019, but declined to comment on the specific launch date. In 2019, doesn't really matter, custody service, blah, 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 blah. The technology generates random key shares instead of a fixed private key. These key shares are stored and computed separately to derive an input that can authorize a transaction collectively. Once again, the biggest bank in South Korea is going to have a crypto custody service. How odd that they would announce this news as the world is going into a recession. It's almost as if this was planned, or they were waiting for an economic downturn. They've been into cryptocurrency for a while. They probably also have their own Bitcoin. So as you can probably tell by the sarcasm in my voice, I said something yesterday. I don't remember what I said in the video. I said something sarcastic, and someone was like, "No, this is the blah blah blah," and I was like, I don't get why people don't hear my sarcasm. The point is, this follows very close the news that we had couple of days ago, where the oldest or largest, or one of the Italian banks who also just opened up cryptocurrency trading to 1.2 million people in Italy. Please understand, these banks do not get into cryptocurrency haphazardly. This is not random. This has been planned for a while. I don't know KB Kookmin, but I can probably say that they've been thinking about this for the last 2 to 4 years. As cryptocurrency is meant to be risky, one would ask why major banks around the world would be getting into a risky business if it was really that risky. They probably, I would love to see in numbers the amount of cryptocurrency these banks actually own. The largest bank in South Korea, I assure you, is not going to custody or hold Bitcoin and Ether without holding it themselves. The really fascinating situation is that they've probably been accumulating for a very long time. Like, you have to think of the time frame that it would take for the largest, like, this isn't random, like the largest bank in South Korea, even in January, on the 30th of January, they probably weren't like, money, how do we make, should we buy bananas? No. Gold? No, I know my daughter's friend is really into the cryptocurrency or something like that. It's like Batcoin. Should we start buying that? Yeah, I mean, we have a couple billion to allocate. Like, this is all, these things have been planned for years. I would love to see, and the craziest part is I would love to see how much the bank actually holds, but even more so the actual CEOs and CIOs and CFOs and all these other things of these banks, how much they hold, how much cryptocurrency they have, how much they've been accumulating. Because if we ever do get to a point, stay with me, if we ever do get to a point where Bitcoin does actually end up going over $1 million per coin, these are going to be the wealthiest people in the entire history of ever. And they've been silently accumulating this entire time. Whenever we get news like this news alone, even if it was just a bank, one bank, major bank on the planet, the one large bank, bam, who announced that they were going to be custodying crypto assets, Bitcoin and Ether, Bitcoin's price should have doubled over the course of a good week. The fact that we get news that multiple banks around the world, how anyone could be bearish or feeling negative about the cryptocurrency market or the future of cryptocurrency is so far beyond me, it actually hurts. Even if it was just the 40 banks within Germany who all announced that they wanted to desperately hold, and one can only assume they're all going to be approved. And that was just after that news came out that they were legally able to do so, 12 hours later when we were going through that news article, 40 banks had already signed up. That was like 3 months ago. Imagine how many more around Germany have already signed up. How many other banks within Italy are also like, hey, they're doing it, I want to do it. If the largest, if the king of the country does something, everyone else tries to follow his lead. One can only assume if the largest bank in South Korea is going to try or is going to hold Bitcoin and Ether, at least 5 other banks who are smaller than them within the country are going to be like, we have to do the same. And it's not that they're just holding it for other people. They're also buying it up. This is why the halving is so interesting, because we know when the issuance rate goes down, but the current demand remains the same. And it's not even like there isn't a demand. There's a huge demand right now. If there was no demand for Bitcoin, Bitcoin's price would be at zero. Bitcoin's price would be falling rapidly to the ground. Even if we do have a day where prices are going down, it's never like a huge drop down. Like we have the prices go down and then they end up going back up because there's a huge amount of demand for people who are buying them. Imagine a situation where banks, first of all, the bank heads are probably also buying up cryptocurrency and have been for a while. Imagine in 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 weeks from now, when all these patents have gone through, all these trademarks, all the banks in Germany and other places have been like, hey, we finally got our letter, we can start doing it. They're also going to start buying cryptocurrencies as collateral for the actual bank. You have to have the actual collateral before you get other people, because should someone's deposit or something go away, you have to be able to back that up with your own reserves. And their reserves won't be 15 Bitcoin. It'll be somewhere in the range of 10, 15, 20, 30, 40,000 Bitcoin. But then eventually you get to the situation where imagine you have the New York Stock Exchange, the NASDAQ, Fidelity, and the largest bank in South Korea all vying for portions of Bitcoin. And then you have 40 banks in Germany, at least 40 banks. These banks aren't only buying 300 Bitcoin as collateral. They're not, I promise you. And then you have a bank in Italy, and then you have multiple banks in America. You see why this is also fascinating, because this is just what's happening at the current issuance rate of Bitcoin. When the demand remains the same and the issuance rate of Bitcoin gets cut in half, I can't, the problem is that I can never explicitly say that Bitcoin's price will go up, because no one knows where Bitcoin's price is going to go. But based on logical supply and demand, this is why we keep getting all these really crazy numbers from these people who are like, yeah, within the next 18 months, Bitcoin will be anywhere from 50 to 100,000, because it's just based off of current demand, the demand that's currently in the market. Me, you, I, us, and you and your friends and a couple of other millions of people. It's millions of people in this market right now. There are tons of people around the world who are buying, maybe even if it's just 100,000 Satoshis because that's all they may be able to have. That still adds up. Imagine the other people in all these other countries, the 7% of people who own this much crypto, the 14% of people in this country who own crypto, even if they're just buying a tenth of a Bitcoin, a 100th of a Bitcoin, all this adds up because Bitcoin is finite. We've lost 6 million Bitcoin already. There's not there's not a lot floating around there. And you can hear the tension and the stress in my voice because I just want people to really get it. It's so insane that all of this is happening. How anyone, I know my neighbors love me, like my voice is so high right now. How anyone could even think of putting any type of support just based off of logic behind Bcash, BSV, Bitcoin Gold, and all these other forks is nonsense. Every single time we get this news, the 40 banks in Germany, this bank, the bank in Italy, and all the other stuff that we hear always revolves around Bitcoin. How you cannot have Bitcoin in your portfolio is completely beyond me. I don't get it. It goes beyond the fact that you can't own an entire Bitcoin. You can still have Satoshis. I don't get it. And I don't think I ever will. And I don't think I want to get it. I don't think I want to understand the rationale but behind not buying the largest thing in the market. And I've seen people say before that Bitcoin's slow, it's sluggish, it's what people calling like the VHS, the Betamax, and I'm like, it's a computer program. It can be upgraded. It's going to be upgraded. There are multiple other chains that are either made or being prepared for it that are currently active. We know that they work. I don't get it. I wish you the best of luck in your investing endeavors. How you could not own any Bitcoin. It is the most finite asset that we have on this planet. During a major economic downturn, during a recession, which could become a depression, the largest bank in South Korea just announced that they are going to have a crypto custody service for Ether and Bitcoin. What are you not getting? What is not entering your head about all of this? If we had this news in 2012, Bitcoin would have skyrocketed by at least 138%. That is not a fake number. When people used to mention the word Bitcoin, when we had Bitcoin conferences coming up, Bitcoin would go up by 14%. When there was someone from a huge economic, institutional, whatever, who was on the panel to talk about it, Bitcoin's price would go up. If we had news that we had this much support for all of these things, not even that, the fact that there are tens of thousands of stores that accept Bitcoin, that there are apps and all these other things for you to be able to pay in cryptocurrencies and pay in Bitcoin, it's so obvious. It hurts my bones. I don't understand how people don't see it. To all of you out there who get it, I bow to you and I tip my hat. Do you understand the significance of this? South Korea and Japan ruled the cryptocurrency market in 2017, and that was when they had 1 or 2 exchanges within the country. Crypto is now officially legal. It wasn't legal before in 2017 in South Korea. It's officially legal. There are at least 15 cryptocurrency exchanges, and the largest bank in South Korea is going to start custodying Bitcoin and Ether. If over the next couple of months, I wholeheartedly believe we are going to hear from at least 5 other banks by summertime who are going to start custodying and buying. They can't say that they're buying, but it's logical. You don't sell gold without having gold in your portfolio. You don't sell it. It's just how things work. If the economy continues to go down and other banks start coming forward rapidly, talking about the launching of their services, I would recommend that you really think hard about the reason why you don't own Bitcoin, and even, I guess, in most cases, Ether. Ether's usually also in that same exact sentence. Why is JP Morgan Chase using the Ethereum blockchain? Do you think they like the way that it rolls off their tongue when they say Ethereum? Or do they, or have they done research over the last couple of years and they see not only the appreciation of the asset, but also the actual usage of the platform, as the Enterprise Ethereum Alliance has hundreds of companies who are going to be building on top of Ethereum. It's so obvious. And this is why, once again, for those of you who were wondering, and I'm pretty sure I said this before, this is why I focus on very few cryptocurrencies, because I know that a lot of them are just garbage. Just garbage. I may have bets on a lot of other ones. I may have, not even as a hedge, as like I know it's going to go up, so therefore I'll get into it for a while. There are 2.5, 3 coins that I am bullish on for the next 10 years. When I talk about accumulating Cardano because I'm trying to make an extra 1 to 200K, that's because I'm trying to make an extra 1 to 200K. I don't know if Cardano is going to be the greatest, biggest, awesomest, most amazingest blockchain in the next 5 to 10 years. But my money right now, as every single institution keeps saying the same word, it's always Bitcoin. If we, should we, in the future, hear from the largest bank in South Korea, about 5 banks in Japan, 5, 6, 7 banks. No, even give me 2 banks in the US and banks in Italy and in Germany that they're going to start custodying Cardano, Tron, VeChain Thor, and Fourth Coin. I will then add these coins to my portfolio very quick. The same 2 names keep popping up. And the other reason, for those of you who wonder why I'm still bullish on XRP, is because there are banks and institutions who are actually using them. And the same can't be said for Tron or Cardano or even EOS for that matter. I still have my other altcoins because I'm expecting the price to go up, but there will be a point when those prices go up that they will be sold, either for cash so I can buy more investments, or they'll be shuffled into Bitcoin. And also, even then, we know that the people from Ripple are also partnered with every bank in India. I repeat that once again, every bank in India, and just about Japan as well. Like, the people, Ripple is partnered with multiple banks within Japan. So when other cryptocurrencies have this level of adoption, of usage, of partnerships, I'll be a lot more bullish on them. The reason why I don't talk about these other coins, I don't care if some other random coin has gone up by 18% over the course of the last week or the last month. If they have no news, if they have no real partnerships, it's all a fake out. Someone is pushing that price up, especially some days where people are like, why aren't you talking about that coin, bro? And it's like their trading volume is $3 million. Bitcoin's trading volume is like 65 billion on certain days. So it's a huge difference. If I have 45 million in my account, I can easily push the prices of many of these cryptocurrencies up and then sell them somewhere else and make a huge profit. Do you see how insane all of this is? We have 0% interest rates. We're in a recession. We could be heading towards a depression. And all of these banks at the same exact time are coming forward talking about, yeah, let's get into crypto. And they're openly saying it. They've been into this for years. This has been planned for years. Do you get it? Do you understand like why I'm so... If we saw during this time period that there were no banks, no institutions, no nothing, either talking about crypto, if everyone who was really into crypto, like as far as the companies were like, yeah, I think we're going to actually sell off our entire portfolio of Bitcoin. We don't like if there was this huge amount of negative news, but why is everyone still very bullish on Bitcoin? Why think of all the other assets? Think of a situation where the global economy is boom, 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 falling down. Why isn't the largest bank in South Korea announcing that they're going to start hoarding more gold, or that they're going to start supporting more deposits for palladium, or that they're going to launch a cryptocurrency that is going to be pegged to some other asset that they already hold? Why is it Bitcoin and Ether? Why is it that we had news that the New York Stock Exchange and the NASDAQ 4 or 5 years ago were already accumulating cryptocurrencies? Why is it that we keep getting banks who release this information in PDF form to all of their investors, and it leaks to us the price prospects for cryptocurrencies over the next 5 to 10 years? Why is it that every single time that a Swiss bank or a German bank releases their price forecast for Bitcoin, By the time it's the year 2028, we're anywhere between $300,000 to a $1 million Bitcoin. They all see where this is going. And I know some of you do as well. I'm sorry for the stressful talk, but it's like, come on. It's so obvious at this point. Why would they even touch cryptocurrencies if it was that risky? If the asset was going to go to zero, if everything else is collapsing, why would they suddenly have faith or announce that they have faith and they're going to be custodying Bitcoin and Ether? What could that potentially mean for them monetarily? It has to mean something. Here's the actual article on Digital Today. I do not read Korean, so for those of you who do, there you go, have at it. There's 20 patents. Yeah. I mean, I can't make it any clearer. I'm sure I'll have another one of these outbursts in the next couple of weeks as well. But for those of you who get it, I remember years ago, I was telling people in my family and my friends to start investing. And I'll never forget, I told a family member to start getting into art while they were into other things that they shouldn't have been into. And I've just seen my investments like really like flourish, completely flourish, like completely do very well. And it's all things that I got into with not even a lot of money. Like 4 or 5 years ago, 6, 7 years ago, I didn't have what I currently have. Like, it's been crypto and my other investments that have really like helped me do well. And these were the same exact opportunities that other people I knew could have easily gotten into, and no one did. So I always think 10 years from now, when I have friends from high school, from middle school, who I still keep in contact with, other people who I know who have no investments, have no money in the bank, are working 4 or 5 jobs at a time to make money, is like, I don't know. I really don't know. It's something that really gets me a lot, because I don't get what the trend is of me now, not me later. Everyone thinks of the world in just today. There's never a 5 to 10 year down the line slope. One of my friends, he told me he had these. He knew these guys who were like renting out rooms somewhere in a flat somewhere. I think the building got sold. I can't remember the exact situation, but they had really low rent because they had been living there for a long time. And he spoke to them and he was like, man, that sucks. He's like, where are you guys going to move to? They were like, we're going to try and stay here. He's like, no, like, you're being kicked out. What are you going to do? They were like, we don't have the money to move anywhere else. He said their house was like full of like these weird statues and dogs and all this other stuff. And they had spent all their money on all these things. They had no money to actually even move. These guys were like 40, almost 50 years old. They had always expected that things would remain the same, that prices just wouldn't increase, that the owner of the building wouldn't be like, hey, get out, I'm going to renovate and make things more expensive. Always think about the future. Always think about where you're going. Make sure to save. I know this is like the 3rd time I'm saying it in consecutive videos, but I really have to hammer it into your head. If we do go into a depression and crypto does well, you're going to have a lot of people who are going to be envious of you. You're going to have a lot of people who are going to not like that you have what they don't have. I mean, the world already works this way. So anyway, blah, 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 whatever. Okay. Yeah. As always, a very special thank you to my Patreon supporters: Professor Wally from Gunbot University, Yasha Harari, Moonman High, XRP, Joshua Vineyard, Martin Stoyer, Josh Gorsica, Chongololo, Songololo, Nostromo, Mr. Pickles, John Sarson, the Animal Reader, A Bibliophobia, Barebones Mining, Todd Mullis, Adam Graysick, Mohammed Maroni, Master Ventures in Thailand, Brady Nield, Jared Schneider, Wise Night Owl, 242 to the World, Crypto Joe, Bankroll Network, Adobo, Milwaukee, Crypto Artist, Coldy 3D, Nicholas 101 Peace, One Love, Damien, Setsuna, Nick, Kanai, Richie, Richard III, Vlad, the Impaler, Crypto, Big Shipmate, Paxis, Nick, Amon, Jelly, Anthony, Charles, Jim Garner, Jeremy Fox, Minting Coins, Millie, his chest every day, and Kowski, Leg Day, yes, to Crypto, Buddy McButtface, Anytime Fitness, Moss Corner Staff, Arithmetic 17, Bake Me a Cake, Tigger, Machinisa on Crypto with Lionel, Crayla Michelle, URL, and hold on, I have to sneeze. Thank you all very, very much for your support, and thank you to everyone who is a supporter of the channel. At the moment, prices are down, but they're not like down. Bitcoin is currently down by 2.3%. It looks like it's trying to fall below 6,000. I wouldn't be surprised if it did at this point right now. It seems fairly logical. Rather, give it a couple of hours. I think we have to see when the stock futures open, what that could potentially mean for the cryptocurrency market over the next couple of days. Just saying. A couple of coins are up, but there's no real momentum for them at the moment. Trading volumes are down by a lot, just because I think everyone's kind of waiting to see where all of this ends up going. Yeah, not much else to really say about the prices at the moment. I assume, yeah, I give it to the week as the week ends up going on, just because I think this will take a bit of time for us to really understand what's going on. And at this point, we're around, what is it, 6-7 weeks from the halving, and I think that'll breeze by relatively quickly. But yeah, I do hope sincerely that you all enjoyed. I hope you all enjoy my rants. Like, I black out when I talk about them, because I think it's so important to me that I kind of like lose exactly where I am. Investing is so important, and there's just so many people who don't really get it. In my life, I've met a lot of people, of course, but I've come into contact, and I always wonder why these things, not why they happen to me, but why I receive the information. I've met so many people who are older, like a lot older, who didn't save, who didn't invest, who have no money now, and they tell me, like, don't make the same mistakes that I did. And I think this is kind of like a huge driving force. I mean, I didn't grow up rich. We were evicted multiple times. I grew up rather without money, one would say, with the pinky in the air. Yeah, just please invest in something. Make sure that down the line you have money, that your kids have money, that your family has money, that you are not destitute in the next 10 years. And I remember people asking me for this before last year. When or if or should the cryptocurrency market really skyrocket? And I mean, like, if we ever get to that crazy point, and people start cashing out of the market, I'm going to try and make videos as to other things you could invest in, as far as like where to put your money, things you can do. Yeah, it's just more of you have to keep the ball rolling. You have to build this generational money. You have to do it. I mean, and also, I see a lot of comments for people who tell me that their kids are also listening to the video. Good. Let your kids also understand money should not be the center of their life, but money on this planet is incredibly important. We need money for everything. Teach them the value of it. I'll never forget one time I was looking at a flat. I'll never, ever forget this. And I think I was the third person to do the viewing. Like, other people were coming in through the door, kind of. And this guy came in with 2 of his sons. And I kind of like sat back and observed. And he was showing them, like, look at the piping. One kid was like 8 and the other one was like 15. And he was showing them, look at the pipes, look at this. He was like lifting up the carpet. He was showing them like the floor. He was like, look at this on the side. And I was like, he's doing it. Like, he's teaching his kids exactly what they need to know, so that when he buys property and he passes it on to them, they know exactly what it was like a magical moment, because so many other people just don't teach their kids these really important, I mean, not that other people aren't already teaching their kids these life lessons, but you understand what I'm saying. It's very important. Let your kids understand that it's not the center of the universe, but it's a planet. Money's a very big planet. Hope you all enjoyed. Hope you all are having a great day, a great morning, a great afternoon, a great evening, wherever you are, wherever you might be. I do hope that it's absolutely fantastic. Thank you all once again for watching and or listening. And I will most certainly be talking to you all soon. See you.